Welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to take a look at the Transformers Legacy Wave 3 Deluxe Class Stunticon Dead End. Let's start off by taking a look at the packaging and then we'll get into the review. So of course up front on the side we have Transformers, a nice open window displaying the figure and the packaging, a really cool artwork shot of Dead End in his car mode. We have the Legacy logo, we have Dead End with a Decepticon symbol and text. We have 3 of 5 Menasor on that corner section there. On the side, 2 really cool looking artwork shot of Dead End, of course in a really cool action pose and a close-up of his face, looking very cool. On the back we have several product shots, one of the robot and car, he transforms in 15 steps, another 3 of 5 Menasor, a really cool barcode, so if you scan that it shows his stats, and on the final side here of course the typical Legacy Decepticon artwork, and that is pretty much it for the packaging. So let's now get into the review. Here we have Stunticon Dead End in his really cool looking Porsche car alt mode. Let's start off by taking a look at the details, and before that I do want to let you know I will not be showing the combiner R mode for Dead Ends because I actually kind of want to keep it a surprise for a separate video I'm planning. So once I get all the Stunticons, if you don't already know, I probably mentioned this in previous Stunticon reviews like Motormaster or Wild Rider, I will be doing a full video covering all the Stunticons, my likes, my dislikes, and of course covering their robot and alt modes, and I will be showing the full combination how you get all 5 parts and combine it into Menasor. So that's why I'm not showing the arm. I kind of want to keep it a surprise because if I show all these separate pieces in their own separate reviews, it's not as much of a surprise if I just stick them together at the end when you've already seen all the parts individually. So it's more of a surprise if you've never seen the arm or legs. Yes, I know I've already shown, I think, Motormaster and Dragstrip, but I thought to change it with the last remaining Stunticons just to keep it more of a surprise and more interesting, and of course you're looking more forward to the separate videos. So and of course, everything else will be normal. We'll be taking a look at the details of the car, the robot, everything else. Just kind of skipping over the arm for now. I'll get back to that, of course, once I get a breakdown, hopefully very soon. But let's now take a look at the details of the car. Starting at the very front, some really nice silver for the headlights, a really nice stripe going all the way to the back of the car, done in some gold and white. Some really nice glossy black for the front windscreen, some sculpted in mirrors there, some more of that black for the window on the side near the door, and a very small sculpted in door handle, some more black at the back windows as well, and some here. And I might be crazy, I'm pretty sure this isn't accurate to the car in real life, but I actually really would have liked if the stripe actually went over the entire windscreen and all the way back, because it does look a little bit odd that they're just in little pieces here, here, and here. That's just my opinion. I think it would look pretty cool if it went all the way straight down. That would look pretty cool. And there's actually some sculpted in windshield wipers, which is pretty nice. And of course on the side, some really nice wheels, so I'm pretty sure the back wheels are mushroom peg. I'm not too sure about the front, but this actually doesn't bother me. You might be wondering why, because you can actually barely tell. As I said, you know, I can barely tell it's a mushroom peg. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they are. And when taking this figure out of the packaging, first glance, I could barely tell that they are, and I still can't now. I'm pretty sure the front are, they're not, but I'm pretty sure the back are. Of course, that gunmetal gray and black really covers it up. Really, I'm bothered that when it's a mushroom peg is if the wheel and the mushroom peg are a different color. Like if the wheel is black and the mushroom peg is like red and it's not covered up at all, that really looks bad. But from this view, from the wheels, it doesn't look bad at all. So of course, now for the main complaint that most people have when watching reviews, if you've already seen some, you might already know what I'm talking about, is the front wheels. So due to transformation, there is a section under the front 2 wheels that kind of prevents it from rolling very smooth. As you can see, it does roll sometimes. As you can see, the back wheels do roll very smooth and fluent, but the front wheels cannot. So there is a slight fix you can do to change that. Personally, me with this problem doesn't bother me that much because I typically don't really mess with the car that much or the alt mode that much. I typically transform it into it, put it on a shelf, look at it, you know, put some really cool poses, take some pictures, do a stop motion. And of course, if you already know my display, all my figures are pretty much 99% of the time in their robot mode. So for me, it doesn't bother me, but of course others could be bothered by this more than me. But you can slightly fix this if you push the wheels down using this hinge, which is really due to transformation. So you can have it roll a little bit better now, but do be aware it slightly pushes the front of the car a little bit up, and it does have some more of that kibble more visible. So there is a bit of a sacrifice or a bit of a cost for fixing it, but there is your slight hack back to fix it if you want to, but I typically, again, just have it like this. It doesn't bother me. Now for accessory storage, the two similar blasters are identical blasters. They slightly look similar to Wild Rider or Dragstrip. I will bring out Dragstrip for a vehicle mode comparison in just a sec. As you can see, some really nice metallic purple and a black. I think that overall looks very cool. So I would say my complaint is, unfortunately, my copy, of course, this could be everyone's, I'm not too sure, but there is a hook that really is supposed to keep both these halves more flush and together, but unfortunately, my copy, they typically do not want to stay tabbed in. Sometimes I've actually had it pretty smooth and flush, but others not so. So that's a bit unfortunate, but again, a very minor complaint for an overall very cool looking car. So you just use that port and a peg and plug these into place like that, and there we have the accessories stored on the back of the car, which I actually really do like this look. It's slightly similar to Wild Rider if you have that figure. I know that figure has quite a bit of slack. I personally like both modes. The transformation is my least favorite part of the figure, but you can store the accessories on the back of his car, which I think always looked super cool, and I'm really glad you can do the same with this figure right here. Now for a quick vehicle mode comparison. The reason why I'm only doing one Stunticon, as of course, there is many more. Once I get breakdown and I do that full, of course, Minosaur Stunticon video, I will do, of course, a full alt mode comparison, a full robot mode comparison, and so on. So I just want to keep it a little more interesting, of course, build the anticipation for when I get the final Stunticon. But, of course, these two here look very cool next to each other, in my opinion. Size-wise, they're pretty similar, a bit more slender and long than Dead End. He's a bit more compact and chunky, but they overall do look very cool. As you can see, the accessories, they're slightly similar in mold and sculpt. They both have, of course, the very long, slender look. He has more of these pointed hook sections at the barrel, and the scope is slightly similar in position and sculpt as well. But of course, these two actually can combine to form a double barrel blaster. I personally don't use that feature like ever. You can do it if you want. It doesn't look that good in my opinion. These two cannot, which makes no difference to me. But they do look very cool next to each other. And that is pretty much it for this comparison. So, of course, as I mentioned before, I will not be showing the R mode in this video. That will be a separate whole Stunticon video. So let's now get down to transformation into the robot mode. Now for transformation into the robot mode, what you're going to do is go to the very back of the car. You can get this entire fin section, hinge that down. You're going to go to the bottom and flip these panels open just like that. And then you can untab the entire leg assembly from the base of the car. As you can see, there is tabs here, and there is slots on the inside of this piece. And you're going to just unravel or unhinge this entire leg assembly like that. And then there is tabs on the legs and slots on these panels, and you're just going to tap them into place. Sometimes it's a bit tricky to align them. There we go. You can then split at the leg, which can be a bit difficult. There we go. And then, of course, position the feet like that, and there we have the legs all done. And actually, surprisingly, the entire top half transformation is actually very, very similar to Dragstrip. So if you have that figure, it should not be too tricky. Now what you're going to want to do is get this entire top car assembly, and you're going to hinge this down like that, and then you can open up this assembly here, and then you're going to get the arms, and then you're going to split this assembly here, and this is, of course, where it's very similar to Dragstrip. You might already remember the two halves being separated and, of course, combined for transformation, and then you're going to bring these down like that, and then, of course, the head is up here, so just bring that up like that. And of course there is a slot and tab on this piece, and of course there is a corresponding tab and slot on this piece. So just tab the arms and shoulders into place, and then there is tabs here, slots on this back car panel piece, tab that into place, and then for the final steps you flip these wheels up at the shoulder, get this piece here, flip this up to become the forearm piece, do the same thing on the other arm, flip this up. And of course you just straighten him out and put him in a desired pose you like. There we have Dead End in his really cool looking Stunticon robot mode. Let's take a look at the details. Here we have Stunticon did it in his robot mode. Let's take a look at the details. Starting at the very top with that head sculpt, some really nice orange for the mouth guard, some black for the main helmet section, and some really nice metallic purple for that entire visor piece there. Getting down to the chest, I actually really do like the silver and gunmetal gray around the entire chest section. Some really nice glossy black for the entire chest piece as well, and a classic Decepticon symbol in the center. Getting down to the arm and forearm, mostly pretty simple. I actually really do like the wheels at the shoulder there. Of course, the gunmetal gray and black, some really nice red for the forearm, and some really nice venting and paneling detailing. You can actually see some nut and bolt design as well, and of course the same design on the other arm. On the back, there is a bit of kibble. This personally doesn't bother me, not nearly as bad as Wild Rider. His was super crazy, and there's pieces flying everywhere and kind of loose. This is much more compact and staying in one place. That was really, I think, most people's main complaint with Wild Rider. He had kibble, but it was bad because, of course, there's pieces everywhere hanging out, sticking out. Again, much more compact with him. So again, personally does not bother me. Getting down to the legs, very simple in design, mostly done in red, but if you actually do look close, there is quite a bit of sculpting and detailing, some circuitry detailing, some panels, wires, quite a bit. I think there probably could have been some more paps here. It's really just done in red. And I think they could have, because this is the bottom. This actually forms the bottom of the car, so this really wouldn't ruin the alt mode because the top is actually on the back of the leg. So I think they probably could have put maybe some more silver or more of that gold from the back on the front. I think that would look pretty cool. It might have not been accurate to the original G1 design of Dead End, but I think it would have looked pretty cool here. And of course the wheels on the side, which overall look pretty cool. And as I said before, quite a bit of really nice design from the car left over on the back, which again I think they should have taken some of this paint apps and put it on the fronts. But that is pretty much it for the details. Let's now get down to articulation, which I'm actually not one to typically complain about articulation with figures. If you see my reviews for quite a while, you know. But I have to say there's two areas in this figure that I think they definitely should have improved. So one being the head. There is pretty much no articulation. You can move it side to side, and that's pretty much it. It cannot move up. It cannot move down. There is no tilt side to side, which I really think they should have done. That's a bit unfortunate. It really should have been on a ball joint. Yes, this entire head assembly does move for transformation, but I think they still could have put in a ball joint. As for the rest of articulation, the arm can of course move out and in all the way around. Like that, there is an elbow bend, there is a bicep swivel, and the other area is a wrist rotation. So for transformation, you do not change the hand's position whatsoever. And I'm pretty sure for Dragstrip, if I'm not mistaken, I think he does actually have a wrist rotation. I could be wrong. Fact check me in the comments. I'm sorry if I'm wrong. But if he doesn't, that's even a better reason that I think both of them should have a wrist rotation, because you do not position the hand at all. It doesn't flip into place. It stays in this position. I think there's plenty of room where they could have put in a swivel so you could have better poses. That, I would say, is the only other complaint. The head and the wrist is my only complaint with articulation. Of course, as for the legs and of course waist, full waist rotation, which is really nice. The leg can kick that far out, that far forward, that far back. And of course there is a swivel, a knee bend, and ankle pivots to a very good degree. And that is it. So yeah, overall pretty standard for a deluxe size figure. And yes, I do know some deluxes don't have very good articulation. Some Voyagers don't have very good articulation in the head or arms. But honestly, when the transformation does not involve changing the hand whatsoever, because yes, we know, if you're a long-time collector, you know, typically the transformation for a deluxe, you fold in the hand, and of course either there's a panel or there's not. There's usually a gap in the side of the hand, or of course under the arm, where it folds into place. But when it doesn't change at all, where it stays here permanently, I really don't understand why they couldn't have put in some better articulation there. But again, typically not one to complain about articulation, so I really don't want to become that kind of person. Typically, I'm not that bothered by that, because I really kind of just stick them on a shelf, you know, put them in an okay pose, and that's pretty much it. But design-wise, I have to say they did a really good job. Definitely looks very G1 Dead End to me. Let's now get down to, of course, his accessories, which I did briefly cover in the vehicle mode. It's the two really cool pistols, the metallic purple and black, not looking too bad, and the main places you can store them in his hands, which I think looks pretty cool, having him have his dual-wielding pistols. You can have him shooting at will at the Autobots, having like AK-47s or something like that, which I think looks pretty cool. And again, those hooks at the tip of the barrel I think looks very, very cool, in my opinion. And that is pretty much it. So let's now get down to some comparisons. So first up, here he is with his Decepticon brethren. And here he is with the drag strip. Hopefully I can fit them all in. Let me just zoom out just to make sure I get them all into place. Here he is with Wild Rider. Let me just scoot these down. And of course here he is with the leader of the Stunticons. Here he is with Motormaster. And I think they do look very, very cool next to each other. And I actually do have them all on display. I have an entire shelf for them to be together. And of course I probably will do a full video, or a part of a video, maybe a short on YouTube once I get a breakdown, showing the entire Stunticon collection on that shelf, just to show you where they're displayed. I think it looks pretty cool there. But here we have the 4 so far. Of course, since I got Dead Ends, actually there is one Stunticon left, which is Breakdown. And another really cool thing I completed is, since I got to Dead Ends, I actually completed Wave 3 of Legacy. It was the last figure I needed, so I will be doing a Wave 3 Legacy comparison after this one. But they do look very cool next to each other. And yes, there's been quite a bit of flack about Wild Rider here. I think he's a so-so character. If I had to choose my least favorite one, it would probably be him, unfortunately, because, of course, these 3 I think are very solid. My favorite probably has to be Dragstrip. That could be slightly biased because I just like the design of the character in general. Nothing to do with the figure, but as the figure is, I think he's probably the best. That is just my opinion. I do also probably, if my second favorite, if I had to pick one, it would probably be Motormaster, but that is just my opinion. Let me know what you think of these figures in the comment section down below. What is your favorite and what is your least favorite, if you can pick one? I think probably most people will pick Wild Rider. I don't disagree with anyone's complaints. Yes, there is quite a bit of back kibble, but my main complaint, I'd have to say, is the design and engineering in the legs and the transformation itself. It's just not fun. I think they could have done it a better way. But they do overall look very cool next to each other, and I do have to say, even though some of them have problems, like Wild Rider and Dead End, there's a few tolerance problems on Dead End, like maybe, like the legs tabbing together, and of course, not very good articulation. I still suggest all these are definitely worth getting. And of course, Breakdown is just a straight up repaint, slight retool of Wild Rider. I'm still going to pick him up because, of course, I got a complete Minosaur. And I, of course, am expecting the transformation to be just as bad as Wild Rider here. So I'm just preparing myself, but they do look very cool next to each other. That's pretty much it for this Stunticon comparison. Let's now get down to one last Legacy Deluxe Wave 3 comparison. Now for one final group comparison, here we have all the Legacy Wave 3 Deluxes next to each other. I actually think they do look very cool next to each other. So I have reviewed Skullgrin and Crankcase, and of course Dead End is right now. Unfortunately, I have been a little bit delayed with Point Blank, so his review is coming very soon. Apologies for the delay, but they overall do look very cool next to each other. And of course, Transmetal 2 Dragon Megatron is also coming soon. But they do look very cool, and I think this has been a pretty solid line. Of the Deluxes, without a doubt, my favorite has to be Skullgrin, an amazing figure. If you haven't gotten the figure yet, highly suggest to. If you haven't watched a review, I praise the figure so much. It's such an amazing figure. I love it so much. If probably if I were to pick my second favorite of the Deluxes, probably would have to be Dead End. I know there is only 2 remaining. I do like these figures, but of course Skullgrin is just the best, and I really do like Dead End's robot and alt mode. But let me know, of course, of the Deluxes, which one is your favorite, and of course of overall of Legacy Wave 3, which one is your favorite. Of course, that includes Voyagers, Leaders, Core Classes, and of course Deluxes right here. I'm not really sure what my favorite figure is of all of Legacy Wave 3, but as I said before, my favorite of just the Deluxes has to be Skullgrin, an amazing figure that I highly suggest to get. But they do look very cool next to each other, and I'm really looking forward to Legacy Evolution. But that is pretty much it for this comparison. Let's now get down to the final thoughts. Let's now get down to the final thoughts for the Transformers Legacy Wave 3 Deluxe Class Stunticon Dead End. Starting in the robot mode, I think overall the design looks super good, very accurate to, of course, the G1 show. And the 2 accessories are all right. I actually really do like the metallic purple and black mixture, and the little hooks on the ends of the barrels actually look super cool. The head sculpt looking really cool with a nice orange and purple visor, and the really nice glossy black plastic on the chest with its Decepticon symbol. Overall looks very cool. My only complaint I would say design-wise is I think there should be more more paint apps on the legs. It's very barren. Of course, the sculpt looks super cool. There's quite a bit of circuitry detailing and panels and vents and stuff, looking very mechanical. But I really think they should have taken some of the paint apps like from the back, like the gold and black. They really should have put that on the front. Yes, if they added that, it might have not been as accurate to the G1 show, but I think it would have looked better, because as it is, of course, tons of details on the entire top half, but the legs just read very boring and plain and bare. But very overall, a minor complaint. Of course, my other complaint would be the articulation. Of course, the legs and the arms overall pretty normal, pretty typical for a deluxe accessory, but unfortunately there is no wrist rotation. But I really think they could have included one, because a part of transformation, there is no change of the hand's position, because of course the typical transformation for deluxes is you fold in the hand, or of course you rotate it, or something like that. You change it of where it is, but there is no change whatsoever. It just stays there as a stock hand. So I really think they could have put in a wrist rotation, considering under the arm it is completely filled in. There is no mechanical components. There's nothing stored in there that you need for transformation. It's completely waffling under there, some empty gaps that I really think they could have filled in and put in a swivel joint so you could have some better movement, or of course some better poses with the figure. Another area where I think it lacks articulation is the head. So it can move side to side, but it cannot look up or down, and it can't tilt side to side either. Unfortunately, it's not on a ball joint, which I really think they could have done. I think the reason why they didn't is because due to transformation, the head, it's on, of course, a little plate, which does move, of course, part of transformation. But I think the ball joint they probably could have put a ball joint for the head. That's, I would say, the only complaints of the remote mode. Again, design-wise, looking very cool. The blasters look super cool in his hands. He can dual wield them. And yes, there is a bit of kibble on the back and, of course, the back of the legs, but it actually looks pretty cool. As I said before, a lot of people have problems with Wild Rider because he has some kibble, but of course his is not nearly as compact. Also, his kibble is kind of ugly, just random pieces of car and junk, but of course, overall design-wise, of course, you have the front of the car and the back of the car, and design, it actually looks pretty cool. I think it looks kind of cool on his back, so I have no problems there. Getting down to transformation, actually, overall, pretty simplistic. There's a bit of fiddling with it sometimes. Unfortunately, on my copy, sometimes the legs tend to not want to stay tabbed in, which, of course, the legs form the back of the car. But I'd say, interesting enough, the entire top half forms, of course, the front, and the transformation is very similar to drag strip, which I was not expecting. And personally, it doesn't bother me. Of course, it's a completely new mold. Not a repaint whatsoever, so it doesn't bother me in any way. If it's similar, so be it. So, of course, if you have drag strip, you probably will catch on to the transformation pretty quickly. Getting down to the Porsche car mode, overall looking very cool. Love the really nice gold and white stripe going down the entire side of the car, and the blaster storing on the back. I think that looks super cool. I really liked it on Wild Rider. Yes, I have problems with that figure, but I think that look just looks so cool in my opinion. I actually would have liked if the stripe actually went over the entire windscreen, because it looks a little bit weird how there is some of the stripes on the front and the middle and the back. It's kind of broken up in chunks. That's just my opinion. But if they had done that, probably wouldn't be accurate to the car in real life, and personally that wouldn't have bothered me. But there's a lot of little details that they included which are super cool, like a little door handle, little mirror, and there's a license plate section, and overall I think it's a really cool looking car. And yes, most people's main complaint is, unfortunately, the front two wheels can't roll very well because of transformation, but there is a little bit of a fix that I actually included in the first part of the review. So if you skipped over that, make sure you go back and watch it. You really just kind of push the wheels down so it can roll a little bit better, but there is a bit of a sacrifice, because if you do that, there's a bit of more kibble that you can see. Also, it does push the front of the car a little bit up more, but if you care about the wheels rolling more, there you go, there's a fix. Personally, me, it doesn't bother me because I don't display the figure and the vehicle mode that much. Pretty much every figure in my collection right now is in the robot mode, and that's really how I like it. But that is pretty much it for this review. I think overall it's a very solid figure. Not my favorite of the Stunticons. My favorite has to be Drag Strip. I do think it is improvement over Wild Rider. Again, Wild Rider, I don't want to fault him anything. I like the robot. I like the car mode. Yes, there is some kibble. Really, the transformation, I think they could have done a lot better in several different ways. If you want to know what I'm talking about, make sure you go watch my Wild Rider review. If you don't know where it is, of course, you can just search Wild Rider on YouTube, or, of course, you can go to my playlist. I actually have a full Legacy playlist, and I might consider maybe making a Legacy Stunticon playlist. If you want me to do that, let me know in the comment section down below. I can have a whole compilation or playlist of all my Stunticon reviews, and of course I would put in there my whole, of course, StuntCon Minosaur video as well. I might consider doing that. Let me know if I should in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think of this figure in the comment section down below. Do you think it's improved over Wild Rider? Do you think it's better? Or is it about the same as Wild Rider? I've heard people kind of have mixed opinions. Some people think it's a lot better, some people think it's worse, some people think it's the same. I think it's definitely improved. And I'm very looking forward to breakdown and completing the entire StuntCon sets. Of course, quite a bit more content coming soon. Of course, I have a slight delay with Point Blank. I've had him for quite a while, but I will make sure to post his review very, very soon, as well as Transmetal 2 Dragon Megatron. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time.